What is up, my friends? How are we? It is Wednesday night and you're very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. We will, of course, be discussing the David Coote situation, FSG's potential sale of the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll be talking about Ibrahima Konate and his future, giving you the lowdown on when we may see Giovani Leone make his first starting appearance for Liverpool. And, of course, we'll talk about the fact that Isak was training with his fellow Liverpool teammates today, and it was lovely to finally get a look at him out there on the pitch, right? Ladies and gents, I hope you all had a nice day so far. John Alsop, thank you for becoming a member just before we went live, mate. Appreciate your support. So yeah, where do we want to start tonight? We'll talk about Elliott a little bit as well. Liverpool's pursuit of Adam Wharton looks like it's a serious one. There's some news in around Michael Olise and the kind of numbers that could be involved in any potential future move for him, and lots more. So yes, let's get stuck into it. Right, where do we start with tonight then? Let's go with coaching staff appointment while we're waiting for some people to come in. So I was reading about this yesterday, and it was just giving me a bit of an insight into the way football is evolving and the type of roles that football clubs are recruiting for now. Obviously, we know about coaches and data analysts and all these other things, but there's more and more new jobs coming to the fore, and Liverpool are looking to bring on a couple of new additions to their staff. They're looking for a physical performance analyst and a first-time physical performance coach. And if you're wondering what these roles are, well, so was I, but thankfully the Echo have answered that for us. They said that the analyst role will focus on issues like, and I've never heard this phrase before, sleep hygiene among the squad, while also monitoring training loads, subjective wellness every 2 months within the ranks. Players will gain assistance with individual recovery sessions, while testing will also be carried out on the squad before and after training at the AXA. The successful candidate will also be asked to provide live GPS feedback during pit sessions, including drill sprints and analysis of movement during the workouts. Findings from the GPS data will be used to inform future team and rehabilitation sessions. So, fair to say, football is moving along, folks, with the type of jobs that are appearing in it and the type of opportunities to get into the football world. David Massett, lovely to see you as always, sir. Thank you for coming in, and I hope you're having a good day. Right, let's talk Chiesa. Gazzetta Italia, who obviously cover all things Italian football, they've been saying that Federico Chiesa rejected the idea of a loan move to Napoli and Inter Milan because he wants to stay put at Liverpool. And I like what they've said here. They said that he's inclined to compete with top players more at Anfield than if he were to go on loan to one of these clubs. They said he's very determined to prove himself to Arne Slot. That is music to my ears as a fan, and I dare say probably to yours as well. I don't think he needs to really prove much to us fans. We just need to see him get more chances on the pitch. So hopefully we get to see that this season. NFL teams have had similar coaches over a decade now, said Raekwon the chef. Yeah, look, it's good. I like football moving in this direction. Any little 1-2% edge that you can give a team, a manager, a club is a good thing in my eyes. This is peak dead time in the international calendar, by the way, because there's no games on anymore. The players are starting to come back to training, and finally now we can look ahead to the game against Burnley at the weekend, knowing that we've gotten through this international break. And I don't think that Liverpool have had any new injury concerns, which is a really pleasant surprise. It's seeping into football now. Yeah, it is, but it's a good thing. Right, Harvey Elliott. I couldn't believe this when I read it, right? And James Pearce of The Athletic said that RB Leipzig, who we knew were waiting all summer to sell Xavi Simons to try to make that move for Harvey Elliott, well, apparently they came in with a pathetic offer, quite frankly, €20 million or £17.3 million, according to James Pearce, was the offer that came in for Elliott from Leipzig. Now, I'm actually astounded at that. They knew Liverpool's asking price. Everybody knew. They talked with the player. They, convinced him of what they wanted to do over there. And then when they finally do sell Xavi Simons, they come in with a £17 million offer. That's just wasting everyone's time. Like, we knew what Liverpool wanted. 35, 40 million if there's a buyback clause, 50 million if there isn't. So why would they waste the time coming in with less than £17.5 million? He did say Liverpool will miss Harvey Elliott, but his Anfield story may not be finished yet, with a buyback clause inserted into his move to Aston Villa should it become a permanent one. And I do think we will see Harvey Elliott back. For some reason, maybe it's just because I'm a fan of his, but I do think we will trigger that release clause. I certainly feel more upbeat about the idea of that than the Jarell Quansah one, as an example. Keith, mate, I'm with you on this one, dude. I'm very much with you. I wish we could get rid of the internationals. So here's what I don't get, Keith. So in a world where we talk about climate change, where we talk about workload on players, and we talk about all the things that us normal people are supposed to do to make the world a greener, healthier place, yet we have 3 months in a row where we've got players jetting off all over the world. 3 months in a row. Now, why on earth couldn't they just delay the start of the league by a month and then have an international window for a month where all the teams get together, play their 4 or 5 matches, whatever they need to in the month? So what are they going to play over these next 3 months? 6 games max. Why can't you do that in a month and get it all out of the way and then let the Premier League just flow for the season? This stop-start nature of it is really frustrating as a fan. You know, we've only got to see Liverpool play a couple of games, or 3 actually, in the league, and now the lads went off on an international break. Then they're back in again. We play Burnley, we take on Atletico, we play Everton, take on Southampton, 1 more game, then we're back into another one. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's not helping player workload, it's not helping fatigue from travelling. It just seems like international football is a hindrance these days more than something to look forward to. But look, I do say that as an Irish man, of course, who doesn't have much joy watching Ireland play football lately, but I don't like the idea of this 3 months in a row thing. It doesn't make sense to me. I think it is something that they should fix. Why can't you do it all in September? Delay the start of the league. It's not going to really be detrimental, is it? If managers then get to work with people, like the international team manager, get a solid month bonding these players, working with them, playing through the games, and then of course Liverpool would have an uninterrupted, not just Liverpool, but all Premier League clubs, an uninterrupted run into the season. Paul Donnelly said that month of friendlies would feel like a year, to be fair, but the current format is annoying. It is. I always look forward to the November one, Paul, because then we know that's it until March. We don't have to put up with any more international nonsense. And look, it just feels tiring, doesn't it? So let's talk Adam Wharton for a little bit, ladies and gents. So Team Talk have said that Liverpool, Newcastle are the latest clubs to join the race to sign Adam Wharton. They say Chelsea, Manchester United are among other interested parties. And it got me thinking, is he the guy? Is he the one we should be moving for? And I think that's a good poll to kick us off tonight with, because I think it's a topic that we discussed quite a bit over the summer, the lack of depth in the DM position, what's going to happen there if Ryan picks up an injury. So let's go with this one. So where we go is Adam Wharton the best option to get for the DM role? Probably the easiest way to put it out. So, is Adam Wharton the best option to get for the DM role if Liverpool were to go into the market? Yes or no? I know Angelo Stiller is another name that people will mention, but for me, I like the idea of Wharton for a few reasons. Could always do with some more homegrown players in the team. Nothing wrong with that. Obviously, a good profile player as well, having come from Blackburn, I think it was, to Crystal Palace. But I would have some concerns with the injuries. He seemed to have had a few lately. And look, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that I've looked in depth at his fitness or lack of it. But certainly a concern to me, seeing that he's been out again. So he probably would be at the top of my list, though, if I'm being honest. The realistic list, because we know Ryan is the guy. So we're always going to be acting from the basis that Gravenberch's the number one in that position. But we do want competition in every position, right? And we've spoken about the lack of real competition for Mo for a long time. Hasn't really been too much pressure on Virgil. But in other areas, we've plenty of competition. Like, just look at our midfield now. We've got Mac Allister, Wirtz, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, Curtis Jones, Endo, all pitching themselves for those few positions. And also got me thinking about Macca. I'm sure you're aware of this, but Alexis Mac Allister last night in a dead rubber for Argentina, a game that was pointless to them because they'd already won the qualification group and, got their place in the World Cup. Scaloni came out and said that Macca hasn't been 100%. And what does he do? Plays him for the entire 90 minutes. So now he's going to be coming back to Liverpool in a race to recover, to be ready for the game against Burnley at the weekend. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I don't think he starts that game now. I think the manager goes with Szoboszlai, Wirtz and Gravenberch in midfield, and we see Macca from the bench. And this is one of the things that does wind me up most about the travelling back, is that these players from Argentina and Brazil are the latest ones coming back in. Of all the players that go on international duty for us, it's always the South American players that come back the latest and struggle then to be ready for the weekend. So I don't like the idea of Macca. Why didn't he play him in the first game and then leave him? It just didn't sit well with me last night that he made him play the entire 90. Adam Brown said, how about Elliot Anderson as an option? Did he move to Forest? Am I right in that? I haven't really kept track of his career, to be honest. I know he was at Newcastle. Has he gone to Forest? Or have I got that the other way around? But certainly an interesting shout, mate. And thank you. Appreciate you, Adam. Keith said, if it was me, Craig, I wouldn't have any internationals every 2 years, and that way players can get some well-deserved rest throughout the summer. Yeah, the problem is there, Keith, it's the competing factions, isn't it, of FIFA versus UEFA. So UEFA have the real money makers in world football, and it's always annoyed FIFA and Gianni Infantino, which is why we've seen this Club World Cup nonsense come about. And you're very right to say it, Keith. There is no break for these guys. And now with the Club World Cup coming back in as well every 4 years or so, which they're already trying to push to every 2, you're right, mate. It's just going to be a piss take for players now, and they're not going to get any breaks. Paul said, of course, Macca playing well unfit is frustrating, but I'm not mad at that midfield 3 at all. No, nor am I. No, I'm not trying to say I wouldn't be happy with that midfield 3, but I do think it will play into Arne Slot's thinking. Maybe get Macca ready for the game against Atletico Madrid coming up midweek afterwards. So that's kind of where my head's at with it, Paul. I think we'll see Macca start on the bench against Burnley, come on, maybe do 20, and then hopefully be ready to go for the Atletico Madrid game. So I've kind of start my thought process of putting my predicted 11 together for the game, and looking at that last night, that was one thing that made me just think he probably won't start. Right, let's keep cracking. Let's talk about David Coote, because I'm sure you're fed up talking about him. I certainly am. But I just want to point something out here that wound me up. Did anybody else notice that Sky did an interview with David Coote a couple of months back where they spoke about why his career unravelled? They spoke about, obviously, his sexual orientation. They spoke about his drug use. They spoke about the things that caused him to have that situation that seen him fired from being a referee. And it very much felt to me, as a viewer, that they were trying to smooth the groundwork for him to somehow become back into the football landscape. Otherwise, I don't understand why they did it. But that's seemingly what I took from it when I watched it as a viewer, that this is trying to clear a pathway through for Coote for some reason to get back into the industry. Well, hopefully now that's absolutely gone, because former Premier League referee David Coote has been charged that he made one indecent video of a child in a Category A on January the 2nd, 2020. And Category A is the most serious category and typically shows young children being abused by adults. So, for the company, once again, Sky, that likes to fucking morally judge the rest of us and tell us what we should and shouldn't be watching, who we should be putting our faith in, and that, we can't be piling on referees, I don't think this is a great look. How does this look for them now that they've brought him on, gave him the platform, gave him the big interview, let him tell his side of the story? I don't remember him sharing this part of his story. So again, it was more media management, PR bullshit. And us football fans being treated like idiots. And I don't like it. I've never liked it. We always hear as fans, well, there's always a conspiracy theory against referees. Referees are harder people trying to do their job. Nobody says they aren't. But as fans, we're also allowed to believe that in any industry, there's assholes. There's people that don't do proper service to their industry. And David Coote should have had no reason to be highlighted by Sky or to come back into the industry. He shit the bed, made mistakes, paid the price. And now he's got legal troubles as well. So, yeah, maybe a bit more research from Sky about who they're giving the PR moves to in the future, because I don't think this is a good look for them either. Raekwon said, Craig, how you doing, my guy? Wasn't it good seeing our boy Isak in training? Dude, it was awesome. You know, that was something we didn't really get to celebrate, right? We got Isak right at the end of the window, just before he went to international duty. So, yeah, it was lovely. Lovely today, mate, seeing him out there on the pitch and getting to meet some of his new teammates. Of course, they aren't all back yet. You know, some of the guys are back, some of them coming back tomorrow. But, yeah, it was cool. What I didn't like, though, being honest about it, I thought the signing day vlog was one of the worst ones that Liverpool have done. Understandably, because there wasn't the full collection of people there at Anfield to welcome him, to, you know, see him meet with his teammates. But I would have liked a little bit more of the family stuff maybe in the video. And, I don't know, just a chance to get to know Isak a little bit more. But, yeah, just my thoughts on it anyway, for what it's worth. Harry said, hi, Craig, how are you? How's the family? Yeah, good, mate, good. Still struggling to find a job for our daughter, which, you know, it's difficult. I'm sure I'm not the only parent that's facing this one, but, you know, you don't like seeing your daughter disappointed, and, you know, the amount of interviews she's been over the last 4 months, mate. Sorry, I'm rambling here. Sorry. Do you think we could actually have another 200 plus summer spending? And also just got 3 kits from China, best I've ever seen. Nice. Do I think we could have another 200 million plus summer? Yeah, I do. I don't expect it in the near future, but yeah, I do think that we are financially set up now that we could do these things. I remember speaking with Mo Chatra, you know, when this summer's window was kicking off, and we were talking about the huge numbers that Liverpool were spending. And first thing I asked Mo was, do you think this type of spending would be sustainable, or would this type of spending cause Liverpool to have hardships moving forward? And no, it seems like, of course, we can't just piss money up against the wall. But yeah, I do think the ability for us to spend money in a big way in the future will be there. The signing day vlog was mostly footage I already saw on Instagram. Exactly. Paul said the job market's awful. Oh, dude, honestly, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but she's done 4 or 5 trials, some of them paid, some of them unpaid. She's been left hanging for weeks. Yeah, and she's just, it's soul destroying for her at the minute, and I really, really feel sorry. I wish there was something I could do to make it better for her, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough, you know, because when I was younger, when I was her age, honestly, you could walk in and out of jobs like that. And maybe the Celtic Tiger was around, money was more free flowing, but it seems to be hard to even get a foot in the door. So I definitely feel for young people in Ireland, UK, and anywhere else that has this issue. Kind of off topic, but I read a Red Sea poll today here in Ireland that said 60% of anybody under the age of 25 in Ireland is considering moving abroad and emigrating, and that's an indictment, isn't it? You know, you don't want your youth leaving the country. But anyway, let's get back to footy. I digress, sorry. Right, let's talk about Konate. So Mario Cartagena has said Real Madrid believe that Ibrahima Konate wants to play for them. And this comes on top of a couple of posts from LFC Transfer Room crediting Marca saying Liverpool have made yet another offer to Ibrahima Konate, which has been rejected by the player. That's the 3rd offer that has been turned down. At Liverpool, his departure is now being taken for granted, and that's why they're starting to reinforce their backline. They go on to say, it seems like Konate will follow the same path as Trent, with Real Madrid having already made contact with the player as they have him at the top of their list next to Saliba, and the latter has a contract till 2027, which makes his transfer unlikely. So, yeah, it's looking more and more as each day goes by like we're preparing to say bye-bye to Konate in the near future. Yeah, and I don't know, I'm still got conflicting feelings about the whole thing, because I said to you guys all summer, I didn't want this situation where we would potentially be reliant on somebody who may or may not be able to focus for the rest of the season. You know, and there is no guarantees on this. I can't sit here and tell you Konate will be distracted by it, and I can't sit here and tell you he won't be distracted by it. But I know as a fan it unnerves me a little bit. And I guess not getting Mark Gay in is probably the knock-on effect to this. But I want to know what you guys feel about it. Does it concern you? We talked about this last night. Or, you know, do you think Konate will be fine? Stevie Boy How are we, dude? Said, with Frimpong and Bradley fit, would Dom still be played at right back? I think for this game, no. And the reason, Stevie Boy, I think no for this game is like I mentioned with the Mac Allister stuff. So if Arne's looking at his midfield now, well, I think there are a few options that will probably be a little bit more appealing to him. So Curtis Jones didn't have international football this window. So he's probably been training, working on tactics and a little bit more focused. So maybe we could look at him starting at Burnley. Macca coming back late as well, as I said, having played the full 90. I just don't expect him to be under consideration to start the game. So I think the idea of Szoboszlai at right back, with the fact that Bradley is back, and we're still 100% sure on exactly where Frimpong's at, but should be available, I would say it's more likely we'll probably see Szoboszlai push back into midfield, with Bradley starting this one at right back, and maybe you hope to get Frimpong then ready to start against Atletico. Paul said, wish we could sell Konate and buy Gay in January. Looks like another year of Liverpool player to Madrid. Yeah, and it's really sad to see it, you know. Like I said, last year it was certainly wearing on me looking at it all over every media paper. But the real concern that I have is, will Arne be honest in his assessment of this? So if Konate is a little bit up and down in his form, will Arne really make the tough decision? You know, would he drop him and go with Gomez? Would he drop him and go with Leone for a prolonged period? You know, some of this is hypothetical, of course, but I really do have mixed feelings on it all. I really, really do. Jax Burton, how are we, dude? Said, afternoon, mate. Love the show. What's your thoughts on the centre-back and the deadline in January if we're not making a move for Gay? It's a tough one. And I think, I said this yesterday, Jex. So Liverpool's plan, apparently, is to wait for the end of the season to sign Mark Gay. And I can understand that. But I think we shouldn't take anything as gospel. Because like we've just said now, the plan might be to go and get Mark Gay for free. But if we are struggling, like let's say Konate's form maybe isn't as we will want it to be. Let's say Gomez has a knock. You couldn't rule out the idea of Liverpool maybe looking to the window in January. The Mark Gay situation, it's difficult because he has said previously that he doesn't want distraction during the World Cup year. And I get that. I truly, truly do get that. Moving from one team to another team, uprooting your family, getting used to a new setup. It's not ideal in the World Cup year. I do fully appreciate that. But at the same time, I'm a Liverpool fan, right? And I want what's best for Liverpool. So if it meant we'd have to go get him in January, then I'd rather we did that than go to the business end of the season, which will be January onwards, with a player who isn't committed and maybe his form is up and down. Like I said, I keep coming back to human nature, and I think with all the best intentions in the world, people are selfish and will look after their own careers. And if I was a coach, I wouldn't be able to put faith in somebody like Konate for a season who is going to leave to go to a rival. I just couldn't. Call me petty, I don't know. I just know I couldn't. Adrian said, Craig, do you think Slot has lost the ruthlessness? I remember him taking off Kwanzaa when he wasn't performing, but now keeping Salah and Konate on when they have stinkers. So I think the Konate one and the Salah one, I would say, are a little bit different. Both, we have to make allowances for the Diogo Jota loss. Like, let's be honest about that. They lost a teammate, a friend, a brother, a colleague, and any of us who've played in sports teams and teams that, we connect with our friends in there. It's a huge thing. It is a huge thing, and we can't overlook that as a potential reason for some form wavering. Everybody grieves and deals with these things in different ways. So I'm trying to make allowances for that as well when we're talking about these things. And I don't know if I have more sympathy, probably not the right word, if I have more leeway to Mo because we know he wants to be here. Or maybe if I'm being a bit harder on Konate because it looks like he doesn't want to be here. That's where I'm confused. So I don't really have too many concerns about Mo moving forward. But like you've said, will the manager make those tough decisions? Because what we've often seen when Arne speaks about Salah is the fact that he can have that one moment. Even if it is a game that maybe is passing him by a little bit, he can come up with a moment of magic. So I wouldn't be expecting him to be dropping Salah anytime soon is basically where I'm going with that. Hubba Hoskin said, I'd put Leone in for Konate, start him against Burnley and see who he gets on. Well, on that actually, mate, on Leone, let me just get this up for a sec. So it is expected, according to many people, that he will make his debut from the start against Southampton. So that's kind of what's doing the rounds now. We play Southampton not next week, the week after, midweek. I think it's a Tuesday game, if my memory's right. And it is expected that's when he starts. Now, that doesn't mean we might not see him get minutes before then. But certainly a lot of the coverage today around Liverpool is that the expectation is that that's the game penciled in for Leone to get his first start. Which I think it makes sense. You know, it's at home. It's against slightly lower tier opposition. And it would give Arne a chance to have a good look at him. It's, you know, in a friendlier environment at Anfield as well. But I keep coming back to this again. If this was any other player that we'd signed as a centre-back and he wasn't this young, would this be the same situation? I struggle to believe that Leone and Ngamoa are here and now players in the manager's mind. No doubt about their long-term ability, no doubt about their successfulness at the club. But they're taking first-team spots, so they have to be able to do first-team roles and play first-team minutes. And I'm unsure yet where the manager views them in that regard. It's all very well and good telling us that they're brought in for the here and now, but you know we got to see them play in the here and now. And this is an understandable first game, but I feel like if he was 24, we may see him before then, if you get me. Jonathan said, I don't know why anybody would want to go family up here now, especially when we're all signing the footballers I do have. I don't know why anyone would want to leave Liverpool, dude, at this point. Like we discussed this last night as well, Jonathan. It's a club on the up and up, a club that's doing good things in the market, a club that's winning. And yeah, look, we're all biased though, let's be honest. We look at this and think Liverpool's the be all and end all. And rightly so. But we don't know what Konate's career path was. You know, did he come into football thinking, cool, play a little bit in France, play a bit in Germany, play a bit in the Premier League, want to taste life in Spain? I absolutely understand that. But it's these negotiations that piss me off. Like, that's the third contract that's been rejected, according to reports. At what point are we just being led down a garden path? Like, are these negotiations really genuine negotiations, or are they just to save face and to make it look like you're still focused on the team? Because I don't buy it. I don't buy that the club don't know at this stage if he's really going to sign the deal or not. And that pisses me off because it feels like, again, we're being strung along here and that he's no intention of signing a new deal based off the type of reporting that we're seeing. Jay Cliff said, Craig, with it virtually confirmed that Konate is on the way out, time for Gomez and Leone ahead of him. Konate is now fourth choice. So, look, I don't disagree with you, Jay Cliff, but I'd be astonished if we see Arne make that admission publicly. And he can't, to be fair. He can't say that publicly because if things went tits up and Gomez had an injury and Leone maybe hadn't settled quickly, he'd need to turn back to Konate. So I wouldn't expect him to say it publicly, but I don't disagree with you either, mate. Fervid said, that's why the Konate issue was weird, right? Why would any player want to leave Liverpool? Exactly. Like, we've talked about this in the past where Michael Owen, Steve McManamans, others, years ago, maybe had a case to go, right, look, I can't maybe achieve what I want to achieve at Liverpool at the minute. Let's look at Isak and Newcastle, right? 15, 20 years ago, you could have said maybe Liverpool were in that position. Yes, a historically bigger name than Newcastle, but were the guys that were there at the time going to win league titles? Were they going to, win as many trophies as maybe they could elsewhere? Probably not. But now, 400 and something million investment in the playing squad, literally just won the Premier League, an exciting new manager, a great state-of-the-art training facility, a stadium that's seen enhancements and improvements, and the Premier League is the money league in world football. I don't understand the desire to leave it either. So that's what I'm saying. Are these negotiations in good faith? Because it felt like, and nobody really hammers down on this point. Romano brings it up occasionally, but if things were really close, and he's still sticking with that Romano, because Konate said it was all bullshit in the media, but Romano said things were close around November time with Konate. So what has changed to go from being close to having 2 contract rejections after that? That's the key question here for me that needs to be answered. Did somebody get in his ear? Did numbers suddenly become bigger and more outlandish? Were Liverpool's offers becoming worse for him? I don't know, but 2 more offers since a close negotiation. It just doesn't smell right, does it? Leroy said, Craig, we can wait to sign Gay in the summer. Mo Salah will never be dropped. Isak and Leone can both make their debut. Look, no problem waiting to sign Mark Gay in the summer, dude. Absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. But I guess the problem comes, what if Konate's form is wavering? And again, we can't understate the shithousery that's going to come from Marca, from the Spanish newspapers, and, you know, everything around this situation. We've seen it last year with Trent, and it'll be the same again this year. And like I said, I can't speak for you guys, but for me, I know it definitely impacted my enjoyment of last season. Fred, how are we, dude? Hey Craig, Fred again from Ghana. Lovely to see you in, bro. Hope you're well. Saw you had some headaches deciding the starting 11 and what 4-2-3 meaning Szoboszlai, Gravenberch and Wirtz in midfield, Ekitike, Gakpo and Salah. That's kind of where my head's at, Fred. I think you and I aren't thinking too dissimilarly on this one, sir. And I think you'll be on board with my team selection that I put forward in the video, I think, mate, when it comes out. But nice to see you again, dude. I hope you're having a good day. Neil said maybe Trent talked Konate into going to Madrid last season. Yeah, look, you can't deny that. You can also not say that, yes, I'm sure Mbappe and other French players, probably like Tchouameni, are probably in his ear as well. Same way we'd want English players to be trying to get other English players, whatever, to come to Liverpool. I get that, but it definitely does feel like something has changed with the Konate situation that I just don't expect an outcome that we're happy with at this point, unfortunately, because all signs seem to point to no, not going to agree unless it's stupid money. Also, here's a question. Genuinely, if you're Liverpool right now and you're Arne Slot, you're Richard Hughes, what number is Konate worth to you a week? He's on about 80 grand now, according to reports. Realistically, what's a fair number that you think would place a correct valuation on Konate? I'm at about 140. Somewhere around that, I think, is more than enough for a player who's on 80 and isn't fully the finished product yet. So I think 140 would be more than fair. If, and it is a big if because we don't know, if the 200 grand number is a real number, I don't think he's worth 200 grand. I genuinely don't. Right, let's go through some of the numbers. Mo Salah said 180. Pasky said 140. Tanya 120. Daryl Merry 120. McLovin 150. Same for Gumi. Christopher said 180 max, 150 not a penny over, said the Void Dude, 120 for Astro Cop, Mike 140, Sniper 130, Amir 135, 140. Yeah, I think most of the answers there are somewhere between the 120 and 150-ish, couple higher. And I think that's right. You know, 200 grand, that's Virgil van Dijk money. Like Virgil, I think, was on about 210, 220 before his new deal. And he had to be the best defender in the world to get that from Liverpool. And I just don't have Konate in that bracket. He's a very good defender. I'm not trying to say he isn't, but I don't have him in that 200 grand a week bracket in my mind. I just don't. But then again, you look at the situation with Chiesa and he's on 140 grand a week and he's not even getting in a Champions League squad. So, you know, I do understand that there are some other contracts that maybe you could point to say, well, is this dude giving value for money? So LFC Drew said VVD is on 350k. Come on, Craig. Did you listen to me, Drew? Or did you just want to be sarky with me? VVD was on 210 to 220 before his contract, like I said. And to get that money at Liverpool, the 210 to 220, he had to be the best centre-back in the world. Now, he's on a contract about 350, yes. But for many years, he earned between 150 and 220 at Liverpool. So is Konate anywhere near that level? I would say no, mate. I wouldn't. And again, listen to what I say before you have a pop at me, because I never once tried to say to people that Konate or that Van Dijk isn't on 350. If you listen to what I said to get to that money, Konate had to be X and Y. Yes, but counting for inflation, 3%, 3%. Mate, you're just digging yourself a hole here, Drew. Just stop. Inflation doesn't take your wages from 80 grand to 200 grand, dude. Inflation's about 3-4%. Salman said, mate, Konate is one amongst the best defender, but he doesn't deserve 200k. I think 150k is best just to keep him. Look, I'd go with that, mate. 150 is realms of realism to me. Just looking at the way Liverpool's wage structure is and who has had to do what to get the numbers that they have. Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk now, we're talking about, 6-7 years of top level performances to get outside the wage structure. And even at that, you've seen what a big thing it was for the club to finally commit to that. So for me, if you're looking around at your Konates, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on this, and I'm open to being wrong on it, but for me, I see a 140, 150 grand a week player there, personally. And yeah, look, Drew, no problem, agree to disagree, mate. I appreciate you coming back with that. We don't always have to agree, sir, but you certainly haven't been rude or anything about it, my man, so all good on that one, and thank you. They need to earn their money, and Konate is lucky if he even gets 150, said the Void Dude. Teslim, sir, said even 150k is like VVD to 20k since Ibu's never fit. Yeah, look, Ibu isn't Van Dijk is what I'm saying. And, I said in the summer, I would actually prefer a consistent defender like Mark Gay over a Konate who has the ability to be a 9 out of 10, but he also has the ability to cost you in games and have moments. And that's always something that sticks with me. Konate still has issues that I think can impact the team negatively, which I wouldn't want from a 200k a week defender. I've seen reports saying he wants 250 now to sign the new contract. Look, we have to say these are, of course, reports that we don't know. But yeah, I just wanted to see where your head was at with numbers, you guys, with regards to Konate, because like I said, maybe I'm miserly, maybe I'm too old-fashioned on it, but I just don't see a 200k a week defender there for me. Right, so we asked, is Adam Wharton the best option to get for the DM role? If you haven't voted on that one, folks, please do. And while you're doing that, let's talk about Michael Ballack, who's been speaking a little bit about Florian Wirtz choosing Liverpool over Bayern Munich. And you know what? Fair play to Ballack on this, because we'd seen Tony Kroos talk about Isak and be a little bit snidey and salty. But I think what Michael Ballack has said is on the money. He said, a move to Bayern would have made no sense for Wirtz. Of course, he wins championships there, but is the Bundesliga still a challenge for him at the highest level? No, because the Bundesliga was overtaken by the Premier League years ago. That's the reality. So Michael Ballack kind of saying fair play to him. He's could have stayed there in the Bundesliga, played with Bayern, won league titles, but to really push on, to become the best, to become a Ballon d'Or winner, he's right to move to the Premier League. Now, of course, you could have made the argument for the Spanish League as well, but we have them. And I like that Michael Ballack is at least honest enough in his assessment of where the Bundesliga and German football is at. Because it's a good league. It is a very, very good league. And Bayern are a great club. But it is a bigger step up to come to Liverpool. And Liverpool and the Prem is where the money is. And is where the highest level is, in my opinion, overall. Bobby said, hey Craig, just joined, hope you're well. I'm good, thank you, dude. I'm good. Dying for this international break to be properly over so we can get back to really cheering the lads on, because some really good games coming up. Looking forward to the Atletico Madrid game in the Champions League. We may be introducing the new fantasy game, by the way, for the first game of the Champions League, so keep an eye out for that one, we're still in talks with the company about introducing it into our watchalongs. So could have a chance there for you guys to win some money and a bit of fantasy. So keep an eye on that one. I'll keep you updated over the next few days. Kai said, would you take Nathan Collins at Liverpool? Oh, dude, yes, 100%. I think it's a very difficult deal for any club to do because Nathan Collins has 4 years to run on his current Brentford deal. They have an option to extend it by 2 more. He's just been made captain, and I think it will be a really difficult deal to do. But would I take him? Yeah, I would. I think he's a very good defender. But I love the idea of Mark Gay as well. I really, really do. And I think Mark Gay continues to impress me, continues to develop as a defender. More international experience, of course, with England. And when we played them in the Community Shield, I honestly thought he was the best defender on the pitch. So, yeah, I hope that one comes. I would have loved them in, obviously, at the end of the window, but Steve Parish had other plans. But I do hope the reporting that suggests it's almost a formality that it will be Liverpool. I hope that's right because I think he'd be a good fit. Mark Lilly said, I think the physicality of the Premiership is a step up for Wirtz. Other aspects of his game are on point. When he gets the two together, wow, I think he'll be unstoppable. I agree, dude. I agree. And I think, I read some quotes from him as well. And I think he's even alluded to the same thing as yourself. He knows he's not there quite yet. Still has a bit more to go. But like you said, when it all comes together, what a player we're going to have. And I can't wait to be ramming this back down people's throats, the doubters from other fan bases that are almost wishing him to fail, but it isn't going to happen. He's too good to fail, in my opinion. Fred said, thanks, Craig. Good to be here too. So about Michael Oliver, the confused ref. I like it, sir. I like it. Heard that he's going to ref our next game, but I don't really know how true it is. Oh, he is. 100%, mate. I can tell you the officials now. Mark always sends them on to me really quickly when they come out. So the officials confirmed for the game against Burnley is Michael Oliver to be the official. His assistants are going to be Stuart Burt and James Mainwaring. Fourth official, Chris Kavanagh. VAR, it's like a double FU to Liverpool here, Paul Tierney. And assistant VAR, Edward Smart. So yeah, Michael, I'm the best the UK has to offer. Oliver is the referee, 100%. So we need to make sure that we take it out of the referee's hands and don't give him any ability to Michael Oliver the situation and make it all about him. Sharkovic, I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. You said I predict Wirtz scores for us against Burnley. I think I'm going to throw a sneaky few quid on that as well, dude. It's been my mindset as well that this feels like a game. That or the Atletico Madrid game. I think he does get his first goal in one of those two. So I'm right with you. Wirtz linking up with Isak is like a dream come true. Agree. Oh, sir, yes, fervent. Right there, dude. The whole thing feels surreal to me as a Liverpool fan. Like, even sit here now, knowing we won the Prem, and saying out loud the players we've signed, it still doesn't feel real. Even seeing Alexander Isak training today didn't feel real. Like, wow, what a window. Like, it's an incredible squad we're putting together. Yes, we rightly will have one or two areas where we think we still need to strengthen in, but Ekitike, Isak, Salah, Gakpo, Rio Engamoa, Federico Chiesa. Like, that is a front line I can get behind. And then in midfield, obviously, Wirtz coming in to add to what was there in Szoboszlai, Mac Allister, Jones, who's improved a lot under Arne. It's incredible. It just really feels like this is fantasy football shit. Like, it's brilliant. Let's talk about FSG for a minute, if I can. Because I read a piece on the Echo earlier on that said FSG are said to be in talks over a proposed sale of National Hockey League franchise the Pittsburgh Penguins. If it were to go through, they say it would net a sizable profit on their investment. The piece goes on to say ice hockey is undergoing a significant rebuilding process, which is set to see 2 teams added to expand the league within the next couple of years. This is set to flood the NHL with hundreds of millions of dollars, considerably enhancing the value of all NHL teams. Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman, reported that FSG could easily net about $1.75 billion or £1.3 billion if they sell the Penguins, almost doubling their investment in just 4 years. John W. Henry is believed to be considering this possibility now, with suitors already spoken of who could meet the demand. Last month, The Athletic stated that the Hoffman family, a Chicago-based group that owns minor professional hockey team, the Florida Everblades, are in the mix. Discussions are said to be underway, but otherwise FSG are continuing to operate as usual. So, what do we think about that one? That at least that's one less thing for them to be distracted with, if that's fair to say. God, I wouldn't mind buying something, flipping it in 4 years, doubling the money on it to that levels. But yeah, it's interesting because I remember when they bought it, there was talk of a new stadium and there was talk of some development in and around that area of Pittsburgh as well. But yeah, looks like they're going to cash out of it and I guess free up some roles, people. I won't say money because money's different. They're already funding the Olise transfer. Well, on Olise, just before I went live, a little bit of news came out around this one. So, LFC Transfer Room posted, quoting at C. Moffizel, to say Bayern Munich can no longer ignore the developments in the transfer market regarding their winger Michael Olise. Here's the interesting thing, though. They say offers in the region of 150 million to 160 million euro, so about 120 to 130 million pound, from top clubs such as Liverpool, Manchester City or PSG would not come as a surprise. Thoughts? Olise, let's say in 2 years, 25, is 130 million pound going to be a fair number there? Hard to know. As a player, no doubts about Olise coming in. And if we paid whatever it takes and we get him in, happy days. But I don't know, something just feels right about this one. Often we talk about long-term Mo successors as, hypothetical, but something feels sincere about this interest. Something feels like it's in the works to me. Now, again, I don't have inside information on this, but if it makes sense to me, and it feels like a deal that Liverpool should be working towards, because nobody's ever going to do Mo numbers and what he's done. He's been a unicorn in that regard. But bringing in Isak, bringing in Ekitike, adding Wirtz in behind, putting Michael Olise in if he comes in, Rio Engamoa coming through, these are things that can mitigate and spread around some of the risk of where the goals and assists come from. So while Olise may never do Mo numbers, if we can still score as many goals, spreading the goals around the team, happy days. And I think Olise will certainly be a good enough player to do that. Craig, do you think anybody will actually pay that amount for Olise? I mean, if Isak's worth 120, I feel like Olise's a £92 million player. It's a fair question, but again, I suppose a lot may depend on how Olise keeps progressing over the next few years. And maybe come down to what that release clause does or doesn't say as well. So I'm with you. I do think your price point there was probably about right, but I didn't think we'd end up paying. No, I didn't think we'd end up. I didn't think we'd have the balls to pay 125 for Isak and 116 for Wirtz. Like, if you said that to me a year ago, I would have said to you, "There's no way Liverpool are doing that." But yeah, here we are, happy as Larry, with two brilliant players brought in for huge sums of money. So, I don't think Isak's worth 125 million. I've said this all summer, but I still want him at Liverpool. So if the club feel it's a number that they can be happy with and live with, I'd rather bring a player in that the manager really wants and the club have faith in. And yes, if it costs more than maybe we think initially, if they feel there's value in it, I'm happy to get behind that. Alejandro said, Craig, I work in finance and seeing the 2023 minority deal from Dynasty Equity in Liverpool makes me think FSG could sell the club in the next 3 to 5 years. Private equity usually has this time horizon. So I remember, who was the one that owned Formula One at one point? I don't know if they still own Formula One or not, but I do remember there was a firm like that FSG were dealing with a little bit. And it's going to have to be somebody like that, Alejandro, isn't it, to come in to buy a football club now like Liverpool. Like even Spurs, they're talking about a valuation of about £4 billion because of the stadium, which is absolutely magnificent, because it's obviously a London club with a footfall. And this is what makes the Manchester City valuations and all this sponsorship deal feel weird to me as well. They don't own the Etihad, right? That's a lease stadium that they were given after the Commonwealth Games in Manchester, unless I missed something huge here. So I've always felt like some of the valuations and numbers being spoken about with them are just bullshit. Jason Curry said, Rodrigo is a better player, proven to Champions League, world class. Should the guy be the guy we get? We've signing Liverpool should go for. Look, I have nothing against Rodrigo, mate. I'm a big fan of Rodrigo Goes, but honestly, I'd rather Olise. I would, especially because Olise still has more to prove. 23 years of age as we sit here, and I think he's more exciting for me than Rodrigo. I like Rodrigo, by the way. I'd be a huge advocate for signing him as well. But of the two, let's put it to the chat because I think it's a good poll question. Liberty Finance, that was the one. Yeah, that was the crowd I was thinking of, mate. Thank you. Right, so we asked you, is Adam Wharton the best option to get for the DM role? And 72% of the people that voted said yes. So let's go with this one. We're giving you the sporting director role here, and we want to know which one of these guys are you going to sign if you're in charge. So who should we sign to succeed Mo? Who should we sign to succeed Mo? So let's say Olise, Rodrigo, or other. Right, Olise, Rodrigo, or other. So you're playing director of football here, folks. Who should succeed Salah? What was his mark? Elliot Anderson's 22 years of age, started Wales and Boys, then moved to Newcastle Youth, Bristol Rovers, and now plays for Forest. Go. Thank you for that, Mark. Right, we've done that. Let's go back to that. Done that, that. Cool. Arsenal versus Atletico is going to be the worst game in football history. Two football terrorists going at it. Yep. I'm not disagreeing with you on that one, David. It's certainly not going to be one I'm tuning in for. Will Frimpong start Sunday or come off the bench, said Ed Harper. Good question, Ed, and here's my best guess at it, mate. And of course it is a guess. I would expect Bradley to start, Frimpong to get 20, and then Frimpong to play against Atletico Madrid. Because, you know, he's coming back from a break. It wasn't too long, but it was substantial enough. So 3-4 weeks, I think, out. Maybe a bit less. Maybe it's closer to the 3 weeks. So for me, my best guess would be Bradley starts, Frimpong comes on at some point in the second half, and then we see Frimpong start the game against Atletico Madrid. That's my best guess at it. Sharkovic said, never liked their owners, but what they've done this transfer window is way beyond my imagination. Acting like a big club is all that we wanted. I'm right there with you, mate. You know, I've had my own issues with FSG, but I am a man of my word, and I've always said to you that I say things how and when I feel them, and I always wanted them to act like the big club, like you've said. I wanted them to show intent to be successful. I wanted them to back the manager, and I wanted them to build from a position of strength, which they're doing. And here's what I wish, though. I think they could have, not that they wanted to or needed to, but I think they could have pacified or shut up people like me if they explained something. So it looks like that Liverpool had been improving the structural part of the club, you know, increasing the revenues for match day, hospitality and stuff like that, bringing on more commercial partners. And it feels like they've done that to get to the point where the money's being generated and they can make the bigger moves. And I feel they also probably smell a little bit of blood in the water for the likes of Manchester City who are having a wobble. And I wish if that was the plan, that they communicated it more. Because so many times, anybody who was like me that had questions about FSG, we used to just say, well, if we don't get it, explain it to us. Tell us the plan. And if they had of, I certainly probably be a lot more understanding of the process if the whole aim was to get to the point where we can do this. But it felt like windows were going by, very clear decisions about personnel that needed to be added or positions we were short in were just not getting sorted. And it was frustrating winning the league like we did and then not really investing in the playing squad after that felt like a massive opportunity missed. But right now, look, to say I'm anything other than a very satisfied Liverpool fan at the summer transfer window would be unfair. I very much am happy with it. Dave Humphrey, how are we, Dave? Said push for Frimpong more up as a Salah replacement and buy Martin Fernandes from Porto. Thank you, Dave. Simon Tennant said, I'm a huge fan and advocate for Rodrigo, but Olise is Prem proven and has a higher ceiling of his talents. That's kind of where I'm at with it, Simon, as well. The Prem proven thing does mean a lot to me because it's a very demanding league. And I like that Olise stepped out of his comfort zone and went to Bayern. Could have moved to a Premier League club. We know there were offers in for him. But he went out of his comfort zone, went to another league. He's doing very well there, doing very well with the French national team. And I'm with you. I think that sets him apart from Rodrigo for me. Tommy said, surely Dom starts at right back again. So, again, Tommy, this is just, my brain trying to join the dots, mate, and don't take it as gospel. But I wonder, with Maka playing 90 minutes for Argentina last night, and with how late, Tommy, he's going to get back in, I wonder if that will see him on the bench and Szoboszlai put back into the midfield role with Gravenberch and Wirtz. Maybe give Maka 20 then at the end and then get him ready for Atletico Madrid. Because historically, Maka hasn't really played well when he comes back from international duty at the weekend. That and the fact that even Scaloni admitted he wasn't fully 100% yet, but yet still played him for 90 in a pointless game, pissed me off, but also made me feel like it's unlikely he starts against Burnley. My best guess would be we see him for a little bit, like I said, and then get him ready to go for the game against Atleti. Dave Smith said Dom being player of the season so far. No argument for me on that one, sir. He's certainly been our best performer. There was a lovely story actually today about him and Ronaldo. I don't know if you've seen it. Dom obviously was a mascot. I think it was 16 years ago when Ronaldo came to play against Hungary back then. And now Ronaldo was supposed to swap shirts with him after the game, but Ronaldo would already promised the shirt to somebody else. So he's going to send on the next match worn shirt for Dom, who was a huge Ronaldo fan growing up. Though I thought it was a nice touching little moment, and fair play to Ronaldo for that one. Christina van der Merwe said, Olise over Rodrigo any day. Rodrigo wages are way too high. Yeah, and you've still got that whole I'm not sure if I want to leave Madrid aspect of it, Christina, which kind of sits heavy with me. It's like even when players want to get out of that club, it's almost like the club still has to have smoke blown up their backside and be praised to the hilts. It winds me up about the club, mate. It really just winds me up. And they're not going to go to the Ballon d'Or ceremony again this year for the second year in a row. It's just a classless club, in my opinion. Mark said, don't you think FSG keeping everything quiet rather than other teams in a false sense of security with their transfer business this summer? I bet City, Arsenal, etc. never thought we'd be spending near 500 million. I get that, Mark. Absolutely. I totally get where you're coming from. But I can say to you that if I had have understood FSG's plan moving forward, I probably would have given them a little bit more grace than I did. I probably would have been a tad less outspoken if I knew that this was to build to something. But a phrase that they themselves said when they first came in kept haunting me when I was thinking. And that was them saying we want to underpromise and overdeliver. And I felt that up to this summer, that's not something they'd done. They had success, of course, and they have improved lots of things. But up until this summer, that phrase just kept sticking in my mind. And I'm thinking, well, when are you going to overdeliver? and they have now. So for whatever reason, I'm a very happy fan, and I hope this is the way we operate now moving forward, with one or two marquee signings to keep topping up this squad over the course of a season or two, and keep having an era of success, because, you know, when you get a taste of it, it's nice, isn't it? Nathan, I wish I had an Arne Slot contract update for you, sir, because I'd love to know about one. I don't know of anything, but there surely has to be one in the works, right? You know, you don't come in on a 3-year deal, win the league in your first year, get backed the way you have done in the market by the owners, and not get backed with a new contract. So I would absolutely expect that he will have a new contract in front of him some point this season, because he's earned it, right? He's earned it. And if we have more success this year, they won't want to be losing Arne Slot, will they? They want him there for the foreseeable. So totally understood why they went with the 3-year contract initially. But yeah, definitely time to give the man a new deal. Ned said, I don't think they can give the plan. I don't want rivals knowing what we're doing. You know, no, I get that. I get that. You wouldn't have to tell all the details of it, but like, if they explained that we were building up certain parts of the club to get the club to a position where we could afford to generate the cash reserves that would allow us to do these type of deals. That's not giving away too much, but I do get where you're coming from. Josh said, did Rio sign his pro contract? I don't know, Josh. Certainly know it's there, ready for him to sign. Whether he signed it or not, I'm not sure, because he would have been away in this international break with, I think, the England under 19s, I think it was. So I'm sure if he hasn't, it's going to be very, very soon, mate. Lewis Henry Owen, thank you, mate. Said, great show as usual, Craig. Top man, I look forward daily to your show. Top man, love you, brother. Thank you so much, mate. Right back at you. I very much do appreciate your support and everybody coming in, especially during these. Like, I look at these international breaks in two ways. One, from a content perspective, it's tough going. You know, there's not much to talk about. There's not much to get people excited about. But in another way, I enjoy them, because what have we got in tonight? Just under 2,000 people. Gives us a chance to get more comments answered. Gives us a chance to be more interactive, and I like it. I like this side of it, but my business brain worries about the other side of it. But I enjoy these streams where we can have a proper chat. Fred said, Craig, don't you think Konate is being influenced by his French colleagues at Madrid? Yeah, probably. But I wouldn't hold that against them. You know, I'd want Liverpool players doing that to other... Like, let's talk about Dominic Szoboszlai and Milos Kerkez. Like, I'd be a liar, dude, if I said to you that every time building up to him signing for us, I didn't want Dom in his ear saying, life at Liverpool's pretty great, Milos. You know, you'd be right on here at left back. Yeah. So, yeah, I'd imagine, but I'd be doing it as well, if I'm being honest, mate. Jay Cliff said, Craig, also, you can expect the players that came in during the summer would have asked the question about Arne's contract. Can you really see Wirtz, Isak, etc. being fully committed to signing on? Yeah, fair point. You know, you certainly would want to know the outlook of the future if you were coming in. I wonder, I was thinking about that as well, actually, Jay Cliff, with Kelleher and Brentford. I wonder, did he know going into Brentford that they were going to lose Thomas Frank, or was that something that, you know, he thought maybe he was going to get to go there and work with Thomas Frank? I don't know. Who's Charlie Kirk, by the way? I keep seeing his name come up in the comments. Something about him being shot or something. I excuse my ignorance, but I have no idea who this person is. So I'm just curious, because I see his name coming up quite a bit there. Yes, Mark's just sent me on something that I actually meant to bring up, but he said Virgil van Dijk's former club, Willem II, have named one of their academy stands after him. The stand is a special gift from the club to Virgil van Dijk, a former Willem II youth player who grew into one of the best defenders in the world. And also, Isak spent some time there when he was on loan from Borussia Dortmund as well. So, yeah, nice to see that happen for Big Verge, and very well deserving as well. Oh, he's a politician in America. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I wasn't sure what it was about. I didn't know if it what it was related to in any way. So yeah, thank you for filling me in on that one. And obviously, if he has passed away or anything to his family, sincere condolences. David said, why do players want to leave Liverpool? I think each player probably has their own individual reason, right? With Trent, it seems to be an ego thing, in my opinion. He'll say he wants to challenge himself. I'll say he has delusions of Ballon d'Ors. But with Konate, it could be the same. But this is what pisses me off, though, David. If he does want to try another league, then why bother wasting everyone's time with the contract negotiations? Unless you really are open to staying for a reasonable number, like not an FU number. I don't get it. And if he doesn't want to be here, then fair enough. Just front up and say, look, I want to remain focused for the rest of my contract. I won't be signing on the new deal. I want to go try a new league. But I promise you I'm fully fit and focused here for the remainder of the season. And let's not be distracted with the contract renewal talks. Lay your cards on the table and move on from it. But it's this insistence that, everyone's still trying to make things work. And that just winds me up and wears me down a bit. FPL Lewis said, Olise every day of the week. Well, it's a pretty one-sided vote, but if you haven't had your say, please do, folks. We're asking you, who would be your ideal player to bring in to succeed Mohamed Salah longer term? Would it be Michael Olise, Rodrigo Goes, or other? Dwight said, FSG did it their way. We were in the dark, so we couldn't trust the process. I think that's fair, Dwight. Certainly, it sums up me, mate. Anyway, definitely does sum up me. But what wound me up was not so much FSG, but it was other people who were telling us how wrong we were. But they never seemed to explain it. I had a bit of I don't want to say a fallout, but it probably was with Paul Tompkins over this. I was pretty outspoken in my frustration, and he felt that I was unprofessional, say, in the way I went about things, and that I wasn't a serious person. And I found it snobbery, to be honest with you, because I kept saying, if I'm wrong, please explain to me why, and I'm absolutely open-minded to having my mind changed. But nobody seemed to want to do that, at least to me anyway. Maybe others had more joy with it, with other high-profile people. But for me, I never got anything other than, you just don't understand. And I didn't, clearly, but I would have loved to have learned or been shown what the plan was, or have it pointed out to me why I was wrong. We didn't. We just kept getting shut down, and I found it very condescending. What do you think of the Irish national team? That's a long question, Caelan, that I could give you a 20-minute answer on, dude. But ultimately, it's not good enough. The amount of top-level coaches in Ireland isn't good enough. The FAI are a fucking shambles. And there's some really good people in this country, up and down the country, giving their time to football associations and to do great things with kids and have the best of intent and the best will in the world. And they're not getting the support from the organisation that they should. So I love football, and I grew up in the Dublin District Schoolboys League, and been involved in football a lot of my life. And to say that the FAI has been mismanaged is an understatement. Like, look at the IRFU and the success we've had with the rugby team and the investment in it and the coaching in it and the school system in it. The FAI isn't fit for purpose. It's a joke. And it's very frustrating that we're still talking about this same thing that was around since I was a kid. We had success with Jack Charlton because we had a great group of players come through at that point. But where's the next generation? Where's the coaches? Where's the investment into having top-level coaches in Ireland, up and down the country? It's just not good enough, really. Daniel Said, hi Craig, did you see that Bajcetic has bulked up a bit? I hope he gets some game time as I think he's going to be a good player. And happy birthday for tomorrow. Thank you, mate. I hadn't seen he bulked up a bit, but he needed to, and I'm glad that he has. And on the birthday thing, thank you, mate. You're very kind. Would Roy Keane be a good coach for Ireland? I'm not sure, but I don't think it's necessarily down to the national team manager whether we're successful as a country in football or not. That's the last step of the process. It's the can you stop making noise outside the door? It's the building up to that stage. You know, bringing through the next generation. Where are they coming from? The grassroots. That's where the problem is, in my opinion. That and the League of Ireland could do with a bit more money into it, probably. Craig, we're going to play Madrid somewhere in October, I think. What would be your preferred starting 11 if everyone's available? I'm not sure. Not sure. It depends on form and stuff going into it. But I tell you this, and I will say this to you right now, Konate wouldn't be playing in the game. Regardless of whatever happens between now and then, I wouldn't be playing Konate in that match. Because I don't care. I'm going to say it out loud. I don't trust his head will be in the right place. If that's where his potential future is. Yeah, I just don't. So whatever the team might be, I'm not sure, but I certainly wouldn't be putting Konate out for that one if I was in charge. Craig, are you okay, bro? You seem quiet. I'm good. I just have a lot of stuff happening at the minute with police and other bits and pieces. It's taking up a lot of my time and it's wearing me down a little bit. That and some other work stuff that's boring stuff, it's not interesting. But no, I'm good. I'm good, my man. Just wishing away this international break so we could get back to more action around the Reds. I don't think it's entirely the FAI's fault. No, it is, Caelan. I'm sorry, mate. I don't mean to shout across you, but it is. The FAI, it's got nothing to do with the amount of players playing in the Premier League or not. It's just a shambles, mate, the way the organisation's run. And look, as I said, I could rant about this, mate, for 20 minutes, but for a small country, you're limited somewhat, of course. But look at other countries that have made proper investments into coaching and bringing through people to get their badges through. Look at Iceland as an example, and others. We're falling back into the minnows. Like, we lost to Armenia. I'm sorry, we shouldn't be losing to Armenia. They were hockeyed 5-0 by Portugal, and yeah, it's just not great. Happy birthday for tomorrow. Thank you, Anita. Very kind of you. Look, I don't really do what on birthdays, to be honest. It's just another day for me. Yeah, it's not really something I celebrate too much, to be honest with you. Don't like reminders that I'm getting older, because in my head I'm still 15. Would you take Minta as a Salah replacement? No, well, it's not for me, mate. I don't think he's at the level. Emmanuel, are you just going to keep writing for fuck's sake, Craig, or are we going to actually add something into the conversation? Because that's the second or third time I've seen that comment, and I don't know what your point is, but you're about 5 seconds away from getting the time out. So if you have something to say it. If not, what the hell are you on about? Ned German Sports, thank you. Keane, thank you. And everybody else, appreciate you for the kind words about the birthday. Right, let's keep going. Some more transfery talk. Where was I going? What's this one? Yeah, we've talked about that one. Alvarez instead of Rodrigo and Olise. The problem there, Jason, is that according to many reports, mate, Julian Alvarez doesn't want to come back to the UK. I don't know if it's a cultural thing, a food thing, a weather thing, but yeah, he just doesn't want to come back to the UK because I think Liverpool and Julian Alvarez would be a match made in heaven, because his style and the way he plays, I think, would really fit in at Liverpool. I think Not this summer, the summer before, there was a report. I think it was Anfield Watch. I think it was Sam Maguire, and he said that Manchester City had inquired about Luis Diaz back then, and Liverpool had an interest in Julian Alvarez. But as we know, he ended up going to Atletico Madrid, and it's not going great over there. Atleti aren't doing as they would want to, but yeah, I'd love him, but I just don't think it's possible, mate. It doesn't feel like he wants to come back to the UK, because I've no doubt Liverpool would have potentially explored that as well as an option. Stephen Shupping, thank you, dude. Appreciate you. And Slugger, I'm all right, mate. Thank you. I'm all right. Christina said, I have relatives in Dublin, and they were saying all the emphasis has been put on rugby, and people tend to follow the local clubs opposed to the national team because it's not supported properly. That's pretty much on the money, Christina, for my take. And the IRFU have done an amazing job in building up Irish rugby and, investing in the school systems and coaching right throughout. It's a well-run organisation. Who I believe actually own the Aviva as well, and the FAI is a tenant. NL said, John Delaney was the problem with the FAI. Yep. And his father before him, I believe, was part of the running of the FAI. I think he was the treasurer or something like that, or maybe he was the president before that, I'm not sure. What do I think of Nottingham Forest's owner? He's interesting, Mr. Marinakis. Don't really have strong opinion on him either way. It's a very interesting call he's made with Nuno, and to bring in Ange Postecoglou. The company line seems to be that there was a bit of a fallout between Edu, who came in from Arsenal as the sporting director, to Forest, and something broke down in the communication between Marinakis and Nuno that ended up with Nuno getting the boot. But Nuno took a team that was potential relegation fodder into Europe, and it feels like he was done dirty. But an owner has the right to appoint and fire managers as they want. I just think Nuno was done dirty. I feel very, very sorry for him, in all honesty, because he done a very good job there. Roger said, Isak or Ekitike for my FPL. 100% Ekitike, mate. 100%. The best you're going to get out of Isak is probably 20-25 minutes. And look, he may come on, he may score, he may assist. But, for the FPL play, I'd be going with Ekitike. But then again, I'm crap at FPL, so wouldn't be taking advice from me on it. Happy 15th birthday, Craig. Thank you, Christina. In my mind, that's correct. I'm definitely, in my mind, you're right there with that age. And I don't think any man ever really grows up, Christina. I just refuse to believe that we do. We may occasionally have to wear a suit and put on the big boy pants and go do something, but I think inside we're all still grown-ass children. Sorry, I was distracted by somebody. I had to move out. Where are we at? Is there any chance he plays half or not? I don't think even a half, mate. No, I don't. So even at Newcastle, I was reading something earlier on today that said that the plan at Newcastle, if Isak did stay, was that they didn't believe he'd be ready to get back to his level and play 90 until after the October international break, which kind of backed up my thought process and what I was saying to you guys when we signed Isak is, I don't think he'll be ready to start until after the October international break. But in the podcast, when I discussed it with Steve, he thought differently. He thought we may see him a little bit quicker than that. Maybe the Everton game, as an example, before the international break. I just don't know. Look, I want to see him, same as you guys. We want to see him out there, and we want to see him looking sharp, and we want to see him playing, and we want to see him shutting up them Newcastle fans and that rat burger. That thing still doesn't sit well with me, by the way. That they have the cheek to put that out there, and it just seems so tin pot and pathetic. Any chance we'll see Craig on the overlap fan debate? So I think really differently about these type of things than other people. So I guess the short answer is no. I've no interest in going on Sky. The long answer is I think everyone wastes their fucking time on it. Like, you go, you travel, you go down there, you sit in, you do your bit, you probably get paid next to nothing. And how have you benefited from it? I don't get why people do it. You know, I know people who go on Sky Sports News for an interview or whatever, spend half the day travelling down to London for a minute, and you've lost a day's wages or a day's revenue or a day's content. I don't understand it, nor do I want that to be my goal. I'm in fan content because I believe the future is fan content. I don't have any desires to become part of Sky or BT because of the limitations that being on there involves. Yeah, so no interest in the overlap, or because I wouldn't last 5 minutes before I'd be thrown off the set for telling Neville to go fuck himself about something, or telling somebody he's talking out their arse, because I think it's all just crap, to be honest with you, and it's not my cup of tea. Saturday Social, all that type of stuff, is not my cup of tea. I just stick in my own lane and do what I do, you know. Where's David's one? Still good to see Isak sitting on the bench. Oh, definitely. Huge boost, mate. And like I said, imagine him even warming up, David, with 20 to go, and you're a tired Burnley defender or whatever, and you see Isak coming on. Yeah, it's class. I'm so excited to see it. Truly, like, I'm really a huge advocate for fan content. I think you never say Sky and BT and all are dinosaurs or it's done. But I also don't think it's an accident that they're now leaning into the likes of fan content to bring people on board, because they see the direction of travel, and they see that, we're creating mini media brands in all of these channels, whether it be, the United Stand, AFTV, Redmen, ourselves, whomever. We're developing our own little ecosystems and our own little way to articulate and speak about football in a way that I don't think can truly be expressed on television, because there are limitations to what you can and can't say. There are obviously limitations to narratives that they want discussed, and for me, the freedom of this is incredible, and I'm only here to please you. So I have no interest in being part of the Sky or BT or any of that shit. It just doesn't interest me in the slightest, because it's boring to me. Yeah, I have no interest in it. But what I would like to do, and I won't lie about this, is I'd love to sit down for an actual interview with Arne and do it in a proper, fun way. Or any of the Liverpool players. That I'd like to do someday, but get a bit of free reign on what you can talk about. Because I'm the type of person, and I'm not saying this is right, by the way, but I'm the type of person that if you sit down and you tell me I can't talk about something, I'm probably getting up and leaving the room. What's the point? If you want somebody to do an interview, well, you trust them that they'll do it right, but nothing should be off topic, unless it's for a legal reason. People want to know what they want to know, and they don't want the same copy and paste question. Like, when's the last time any of us learned much from a press conference? Genuine. I'm not having a dig at the reporters here, because, they can only ask what they can ask, but it's all just mundane nonsense. Every now and again you get a little nugget, like a manager might have a rant or something like that, but it's just copy and paste monotonous bullshit questions over and over again, and I don't think any of us ever learn anything new from it, because everyone is so media trained now to within an inch of their lives, and you've got press officers standing in a corner ready to jump in if they don't like a question. I don't know. I find fan content way more entertaining right across the board, because if you're a Liverpool fan, you want Liverpool focused stuff, and LFC TV can deliver that to you in a certain way, in a very well packaged, prim and proper, wholesome way. But that's not how football is consumed. Football fans swear, we shout, we have mad takes that might not be right, but we're excitable. And I think that's why fan content's so important, because people can see themselves in what we do. People can see us articulating the type of points that they want to discuss. in a way that they can relate to. And no amount of Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher trying to come into our world is ever going to change the fact that fan content is where the direction of travel is now. And I think it's a compliment to us that the likes of Goldbridge, and That's Football, got the rights of the Bundesliga to do some games. That's a huge step forward for our industry to see that, yes, we see that influence in fan accounts is important now. And the fact that Sky and BT and all are trying to copy what YouTubers are doing, having looked down their noses at us for a long time, particularly around watchalongs and stuff, they're now trying to do their own thing. But they keep forgetting the one key ingredient: authenticity. And I don't think they can do that. Nomad said, bring back Fan Zone. I love that, dude. I loved that back in the day. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else remembers Fan Zone, but God, that's the one I used to put on back in the day. It was brilliant, especially when you had the Liverpool and United fans on there. It was class. That was proper good banter. I love that. Right up in each other's faces when they scored and stuff. That was brilliant. But they've got to justify keeping Neville, Carragher and all these lads in their overpaid jobs. Like, the overlap are doing watch-alongs now. Let that sit. The overlap are doing watch-alongs. That makes me smile, because we were laughed at for it for a long time, and now they're trying to do it. But they can't do it authentically because they all have their own vested interests and thought process. It makes me smile. I'm so proud of fan content and where it's gotten to. And I'm very grateful to the people that came before us that, laid the groundwork for us to be able to do this. They're too scared to ask anything on topic in case they lose their gig at press conferences. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I keep talking about, the lack of real... what's the word I'm looking for here? Transparency in football. For a sport that claims to want to be clean and open, they don't have to say we can't talk about stuff because it's legally binding here or blah, blah, blah there. And yeah, it winds me up. Someone said Soccer AM 90. Do you remember Fantasy Football? The show that used to be done by, what's the comedian? The West Brom fan. I can't think of his name now off the top of my head. That was a brilliant show. And they tried to do it with... Channel 4 tried to do it with Robbie from AFTV, I think, where they had that show that used to be on at night. And the idea behind it was probably a good one, but I think the execution of it was flawed in the way they went about it. But I think there is space. If TV companies actually wanted to do a proper football show where there is proper fan opinion, a little bit of swearing after 9 p.m, I think it would do really, really well, as long as the people on it were allowed to be authentic and it wasn't mismanaged and homogenized within an inch of its life. Frank Skinner, yes, thank you, Dave. That's the guy. Yeah, that was brilliant. I used to love that every single week it was on back in the day. I thought it was one of the best bits of football TV content that was out there. I thought it was brilliant. Do any of the Liverpool reporters support Lewis, or Liverpool accept Lewis Steele, who's in the city? David Lynch definitely does. I've obviously got to know David for a while when we worked together, and yes, he's wholeheartedly a Liverpool fan. I believe James Pearce is a Liverpool fan. Paul Joyce is an Everton fan, from what I understand. I think Chris Bascom is a Liverpool fan as well, but don't hold me to that one. But yeah, certainly know that that David Lynch is a Liverpool fan and James Pearce is a Liverpool fan. He's got a pineapple on his head. Do you remember that? Yeah. And Stato as well on that show. He's got a pineapple on his head. Yeah, loved it. Great show. And very forward thinking as well, that show. Anyone seen the David Coote news? Yeah, we spoke about it at the start, mate. Happy to go back over it for you. Actually, you know what? I want to bring up an article from Sky on it because they've got more information. So let me just get this, dude, and I'll read this article out to you. Because this, I thought, summed it up quite well. So, I'm going to read this out to you because obviously Sky will have checked this legally and I'm not going to get in any trouble for what I say. But it said, David Coote, former Premier League referee, charged with making an indecent video of a child. Former Premier League referee David Coote has been charged with making a decent video of a child, Nottinghamshire police have confirmed. The 43-year-old from Collingham is due to appear at Nottingham Magistrates Court on Thursday, September the 11th, and is currently on conditional bail. He's been charged with a Category A offence, which relates to a video file recovered by officers in February 2025. Category A is the most serious of the categories. The charge of making an indecent image of a child refers to activities as downloading, sharing or saving abusive photos or videos. Coote was sacked by the professional game match officials, the PGMOL Limited, in December 2024 after a video appearing to show Coote making derogatory comments about Liverpool and their former manager Jurgen Klopp was widely circulated in social media. In August this year, he was given an 8-week suspension by the Football Association over the Klopp footage. The PGMOL investigation also covered a second video which emerged in November 24, appearing to show Coote snorting white powder, purportedly during a Euro 2024, where he was one of the assistant VARs for the tournament. European football's governing body UEFA also appointed an ethics investigator to look at the matter, and Coote was banned by UEFA until June 30th, 2026. So, yeah, it's not great, and it's not a good look for Sky either, I don't think, who may or may not have known about this, but again, they seem to go to bat for somebody for some unknown reason. They brought him on, they did the big tell us your side of it, David, the big sob story about struggling with his sexuality and the drug use coming from that. And look, I absolutely believe that that's possible. Of course, I can understand somebody maybe struggling to come to terms with their sexuality or becoming open about it. You know, each to their own. But I didn't understand why Sky were trying to, I don't know, PR this for him or give him this platform. I never understood it because, you know, he's been sacked. And yes, of course, he's entitled to get on with his life, but I don't want to know anything about him. I don't want to see him fucking rammed down my throat. And now this has come out after that. And again, we had Neville and others telling us that, you know, we've got to respect all referees and there are no, you know, bad apples involved in it, as if it just wasn't rational. You know, of course, referees, like any industry, are full of more good people than bad. But we can't go through life thinking everybody's great and that there aren't some assholes and some horrible shits in any industry. So if we can't have a conversation about the ethics and standards of referees, then why are we here? What's the point? You know, if we're all just to believe that they're all great men and women and none does anything wrong and they don't have shitty decisions or gripes with managers, then that's not fair. We're not having an informed, proper conversation at that point. We're just being told again what to do. And I have a real problem with outlets like Sky talking about stamping out hate and all the other stuff and then kind of speaking out of both sides of their mouth. It winds me up. I don't need to be given morals by my TV company, thanks. My parents did that for me. Itachi said, I really enjoyed today's inside training video. Isak is real. He looked so sharp. I think he's ready before October. I love this squad. Yeah, I love this squad as well, dude. And I think he's ready after October. But I hope you're right. Of course, I'd rather you be right in this than me, mate, because I want to see him out there on the pitch as soon as possible. LFC Drew said virtue signalling is what it is. Yep, but it's empty, dude. It's empty. That's my problem with it. Like I keep saying, every company, every brand, every person knows what to say to sound like they give a shit. But do they? That's my gripe with this as well. It is just virtue signaling a lot of the time. And, you know, I would consider myself a progressive person. I really, really would. But I would also consider myself very wound up by a lot of, I don't like to use the word woke because I think it's too broad a term, but there are certain aspects of shit that I don't like everyone gets a medal. No, winners get a medal. Losers get to understand what it feels like to lose and to inspire themselves to want to get a medal. This participation trophy nonsense, nah, sorry, not for me. You need to understand what it feels like to lose. You need to understand what it feels like to win. You need to understand how you get there. So one of the things when Liverpool, let's say, lose a big final is the manager will no doubt go into that dressing room and say, remember this feeling. You don't want to feel this again. Remember how this feels right now when you're sitting here heartbroken that you've lost that final. Remember it, bottle it up, put it in your memory bank. That's important. That builds character. And if everybody's just getting a yay round of applause, you're just setting people up to be weak. And you're setting people up to think everybody owes them something. The world owes them a living. The world is not a tough place. It is. My kids know damn well the world's a tough place. And I think setbacks are important to build character and to inspire you to move forward. Like I said, that whole thing about remember this feeling in the dressing room, that is absolutely important. Because you don't want to go through that again. You're going to make sure the next time you're there, you leave it all out there. You've no regrets. I think building character is really important in life. And I often say to you guys that I wouldn't be sitting here now with this channel if I hadn't been through what I went through in life. Because it taught me a lot about myself. And it taught me a lot about what I am capable of and not capable of. Billy Beckner said, that's such a good mentality, Craig. We need you in the Liverpool locker room. I think it's common sense stuff, right? Sending people out into the world, and all of our kids in this, you need to set them up to know what the world is like. Not what we want the world to be like, not what this happy, clappy, idealistic version of the world is. They need to understand. Sometimes the world's going to be tough. Sometimes people are going to be assholes. But you got to get on with it. Sharkovic said, Craig, by the way, the thing that made me bring the overlap thing is because most of the Liverpool guys on there seem to be pushovers. And I know if you ever went on there, you defend Liverpool well. But there's a reason why I don't get some of these invites, mate, is because I refuse to play the game as such. And I refuse to be a pawn. And I refuse to be a yes man for anybody. And it seems to me that that's what they want. They want comfortable. They want easygoing. They want manageable. And I'm not that guy, so... happy birthday blessings tomorrow. Thank you, Tanya. I tell you what, I can't wait for tomorrow. Actually, I'm looking forward to tomorrow onwards because we can really start to look towards the Burnley game. Everybody will be back training tomorrow at the AXA. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it because these international breaks are tiring, boring couple of weeks. And I'm buzzing for the game at the weekend. And of course, then we've got a Champions League game coming up after that. Right, so... with 1,250 votes cast, 82% of you legends want Michael Olise as the long-term Mohamed Salah successor, and I'm right there with you. Rodrigo, 10%, and other was 7%. So thank you to everyone that voted there, and I agree. But look, we got to say as well, a couple of years is a long time, and who knows what happens or who develops or bursts onto the scene in the next couple of years. But you can be sure that Liverpool are keeping tabs on a lot of different players. Craig, will you start taking more breaks when the international breaks roll around? Probably. I think it's not something I like doing, but it's probably something I need to do. So, I took 3 days off on this one, and I'm going to be honest and say I did see the benefit of it. I certainly felt more mentally rested after the 3 days. I kept myself busy as well during them. I went to the boxing on Friday up in Dublin. I went out for dinner on Saturday, and I probably will, but I hate it, man. I want to be on here talking with you every night. This, I love this, but I do need a mental break every now and again. But I need you to wish me well on Saturday. We've got a builder coming around to maybe sign off on the Anfield Agenda office build, and that's going to be a very proud day. If we can get an Anfield Agenda studio built, I'm going to be a very, very, very proud man at that point because it gives us flexibility to give you better content, different styles of content, different setups, and yeah, it's something I'm so proud that we're able to do, and it's really close now, so I'm so excited. Let's do a poll. Who will score versus Burnley? Isak, Ekatike, or both? We don't really have time to, unfortunately, Atachi. You know, it's 10:30 and I'm going to be winding it down in a second. But remind me tomorrow, sir, and I promise you I will be more than happy to do it. Grim Reaper said international friendlies that mean nothing should be scrapped. England have one against Wales in early October. Yeah, look, I understand both sides of it. You know, international managers want to trial out new players and stuff as well. But, you know, let's just come back to the very start of tonight's conversation, I guess. We have now September, October, November, where roughly 30 days out of those 3 months are taken up by international fixtures, be that travelling, training and playing games. I just don't understand why they don't delay the start of the Premier League or all European leagues by a month, have this international window in September where they can play 5-6 games. The manager gets a month with the teams. There's less travelling for the players back and forth from England across to South America or to Africa or to other parts of Europe. And then we can get into the league proper and get stuck into it. And there's more continuity to it. And it's not stop-start. It's horrible. I hate this stop-start nature at the start of the season because it's a long summer. You're waiting for the season to happen. It starts. You wet your beak a little bit, and then you've got a break for 2 weeks. And then they're back, and then you've got another break. And then they're back, and then you've got another break. It just feels very stop-start. If you start to build, will you give us updates on your channel daily? Yeah, probably. Yeah, I've sat down and figured out most of the plans for it. So the plan would be it would have a green screen studio like this. It would also have an area where I could do a watch along without a green screen. So sometimes I'll do it with a green screen. Sometimes if I have a guest or two, we'll have a sofa, a TV and a camera and we can do it that way. Yeah, I'm excited by it, but it's taken us 5 years to get to this point and I don't believe in anything till it's signed. So keep your fingers crossed for me. Fred said, Craig, thought Liverpool started pretty hard this league, but I can see something a little bit familiar compared to last year's league where we were on top right from the early stage. Yeah, it's to have gotten through those first 3 games, Fred, with 3 wins. Honestly, I'm buzzing because we didn't play at our best, but we got it done. It took a moment of brilliance from Dominic Szoboszlai to beat Arsenal, and wow, what a strike. Rio came up with that clutch moment against Newcastle away where it looked like we'd let that 2-0 lead slip, even against 10. But like you said, Fred, you know, similarities to last year getting out to a good start. But this is a tough start that we set out well. And we know that there's more to come from the group. So, yeah, exciting times, dude. Exciting times ahead for an incredible group of players with so much potential for this season. I dare not even dream too much about what's possible because honestly, everything feels possible. Right, ladies and gentlemen, if I can ask you before you head off to hit that like button for me, I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. There will be a news update video coming out if you've missed some of what we spoke about tonight. And again, thank you for another fun evening. I love coming on chatting with you all. And on quieter nights like this, you know, the good side is that we get to know each other a little bit more and we can express ourselves a bit better. So have yourselves a good one. Thank you for all the birthday wishes for tomorrow as well. You're all very kind. And yeah, much love to you all. Thank you for tonight and we'll see you tomorrow.